What if I just changed my intro instead of just doing my normal, hi, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if your first time here, because apparently I can't say it. I just was like, hey you. Listen, I just feel like I need to rebrand or something. I don't know. That's just where I'm at. But like, do people like the consistency of like, hi, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if it's your first time here? Or would they like me to say something different every time? Just like, hey, what's up? That's my intro to this video. Okay, here's the thing. I was going to do my like October reading wrap up last week. I got super sick. I also just like life kind of got crazy. And so now it is the second week of November and I'm doing my October reading wrap up, and that's just we're just gonna live with that, right? Like, we're totally fine with that. No one complain, please. So some of my October reading wrap-ups have been talked about before because I talked about them in like spooky book recommendations, witchy book recommendations. There's a DNF in there I'm going to talk about, and I have read more of The Serpents and the Wings of Night, so I have more of a review of that. But yeah, this is a bit more in-depth than those videos. But if you watch those, you are going to hear some repeats, but just like stick around for a little bit, just a little bit more, a little bit different, a little more, a little, yeah. So the first book was Hex and Hexabilities. So this is about a witch named Tiffany. It's like a Regency era kind of romantasy. I would say, I guess it's technically romantasy because it's romance and then the witch element makes it fantasy. So the book is about a witch named Tiffany, and she is navigating Regency society and the ton and all that kind of stuff, and then she is taken by surprise by a relative she's never met before, never heard of before, named Esme. It's also about a pirate. It's dual POV, and his name is Santiago. He has a mysterious background for Tiffany, since he's her love interest, obviously, and the audience also to uncover. It's a story of witchcraft, romance, and the power of accepting who you are and accepting who others are and the uniqueness in yourself and others. It had a more feminist take on the Regency era, where it is challenging the backwards yet normal for the era ideas of a woman's purpose is to be a wife and a mother. A lot of Regency books that I read do challenge that to a degree. This one was more overt and kind of steadfast in those feminist ideals. There wasn't a lot of exposition in the witchcraft though. There was some, but it was more like Tiffany found out she was a witch and then like could do magic. There were political aspects and storylines outside of the ton, which honestly took me by surprise. I just thought that most of the plot would be contained to the like courting process and that stuff. Do I think it's a perfectly written, nuanced story? No. But in the author's note, she did say it was her first time writing a Regency romance, a historical romance, and I do think that's a big feat to take on considering the amount of research that goes into that. So I do have to commend that, even though, like I said, I don't think it is the most perfectly written story or anything like that. For me, it wasn't my favorite book I read in October. It did get a little ridiculous sometimes, like the name Squidbert was used in like full sincerity, but it was cute, it was fun, it was one of those books like when you just kind of, I don't know, it's one of those, for me, I just read it because it was witchy, it was October, I wasn't looking for anything to get seriously invested in, so if you're looking for something like that, I would recommend it. And also, the main love story is not queer, but there are queer characters, which I honestly didn't expect because I haven't had that in any Regency books I've read so far, but I love to see it. I mean, LGBT plus people have always existed, so. Next book I've not actually finished because the way my life kind of flipped on its head. I was going to finish it before the end of October, and I will finish it by the time this video is up, but I just didn't get the chance to. I'm almost done, and I have lots of thoughts on it. So the story focuses on Araya. She is a human that was taken from her town that was attacked by rebel vampires. She was rescued by the king of the House of Night. So the story has like 3 different houses of vampires. It is not relevant right now, but it is relevant to the overall world. She's raised by this king who's named Vincent, and he trains her, he kind of teaches her how to survive as a human in this vampire world. He's very protective of her, but he also trains her, readying her for this tournament called the Kajari. So it's a tournament in honor of the goddess who created vampires, Neaxia. It is like a Hunger Games style tournament where there can be one survivor, and they are granted a, I mean, it's not like as much Hunger Games. There's people like, there's special circumstances where people leave the tournament, and that's kind of a spoiler, but not really. That was too vague to be a spoiler. I'm taking it back. That was too vague. But the winner is granted something from the goddess Neaxia. There are religious undertones. I don't want to speak too heavily on that just because, like I said, I still have a bit of the book left, so. But it's clearly there when there's like gods and goddesses. I'm gonna be a bit pedantic in my critiques because I thought it was fine and I liked it, but I wanted to love it. I wanted to like really love it, and I just kind of thought it was fine, and these are the reasons why. The pacing was strange in a way I can't quite put my finger on because it's not slow. You kind of jump into the action, you get to the action quite quickly, but I didn't feel as connected to the characters or the world. Pacing is difficult, writing is difficult. I think that's just something that needs to be said that I'm sure a lot of people know, but there is something about finding a way to like set up your character and the world without like dragging out too much, that you have to find that balance. But something about this felt like I was both in it and not. Does that make sense? Minor spoilers, I'm going to be very vague about it, but if you do want to skip this part, skip to this time. But basically, a character dies very early on that I felt like wasn't set up well enough because you didn't know enough about the character. I don't think you were as connected to this character, and so the impact just fell flat to me. Like, you get less than 10 pages with that character, I think. I think it was somewhere around that. It was not a lot. Like, devil's advocating myself, I think the intention could have been the way that death impacted and motivated the character from there forward, but I felt like the protagonist, I mean, but I felt like it still fell flat because it didn't impact them enough. It wasn't like their main motivating factor. They already had a motivating factor, so there was something about it that just didn't, like, I didn't feel the emotional impact. The book was pretty on the nose. There wasn't a lot of like subtext or ambiguity, and that's unfortunately very common in books these days. I'm still looking for it, but I try to be a bit more lenient with that because some stuff being on the nose is like, yeah, you should be hammering this point home. This is very important and people aren't getting it. But like, there's other stuff that it's just like, it was very repetitive and stuff that I just felt coddled by. And I don't love that as a reader. And I'm sure at this point you're thinking like I'm being really harsh on this, but it's like I said, I thought it was fine. I wanted to love it, and I didn't for these reasons, and like maybe others that I'll get into in the future. There's some that I'm like, let me finish this up before I kind of like go too hard on that. I did feel like there were some inconsistencies in the world building, but like very minor. And like, yeah, there's nothing else I can really speak on now, but it's also just I want to be completely honest in my reviews, even if I have to be a bit harsh, because that's what I'm trying to do as a reviewer, is speak on my experience with these books. Does that make sense? Like, I've been one to sugarcoat because I'm scared. Like, I'll be so honest, but I'm kind of overdoing that because I want to be authentic in my reviews, even if people disagree with it, that's fine. Like, I'm someone that I can read reviews of my favorite book and just agree to disagree. Does that make sense? I need to stop saying, does that make sense? I feel like the amount of times I probably cut out myself saying, does that make sense? Because I say it so often. It just needs to stop. It simply needs to stop. But that being said, you know, whatever I don't like, I'm going to try to be respectful. That's the word I was looking for. Respectful in my reviews. There are some stuff that I might be a little harsher on. But still. Let's just, like, I don't know. I feel like I don't watch other people review books for them to sugarcoat it. I want you to tell me how you felt about it, so I'm going to try to start doing that. Just a little sidebar, but now to get into the positives. As for the positives, there was some pretty good imagery. The way things would be described, the words being used, they were pretty evocative. and I felt like the way that they use the Kajari to kind of reveal more lore with each trial, more lore about the world. I think, like I said, even though I didn't feel as connected to the world like once we got started and all that kind of stuff, I don't mind learning throughout. I think you should pace it throughout, but there is something about like jumping right into the action without any connection to the protag or anything like that that felt a little like jarring. Like, that's what I said. It just felt like, I can't even exactly put my finger on it, but just felt like uncomfortable pacing. Like disconnected pacing. There was also some like lore drops being done in flashbacks and world building, I should say, as opposed to just lore drops. And I like when things get a bit more creative in how they do the world building, how you're given information, because I have read some popular books recently that just info dump, and this one I didn't feel like it was doing that, so I do have to appreciate it. Well, that's like kind of bar on the floor. Unfortunately, I'm finding that a lot in popular books. And I like how much fantasy was involved. When I found out this was romantasy, I was a bit hesitant. I did want to read this more than other romantasies I've heard about recently. I do like romantasy because I like both romance and fantasy, but so much is like so romance heavy that the world building is just like, what the heck is happening? Or just, it's just not for me. We'll just put it like that for now. I think it did a good job of letting us know what the protagonist knew and didn't know. So like eventually you feel a bit more connected to the protagonist, but I still felt like not enough. But I do, like I said, it gave us, I think it's important to know what a protagonist was raised being told, what they know about the whole world, that kind of stuff. I feel like I'm comparing it to Fourth Wing because no. And honestly, maybe the reason why I wasn't like enthralled with it and didn't love it as much as other people is like the time in my life when I read it. That sometimes happened. Like I said, I got sick. I just was going through things, so I just didn't find solace in reading it. There were times where I was reading a chapter and I was like, let me read the next chapter because I want to know what happened. So it's not like I completely was disinterested in it. It just didn't really keep me. Like, I'm not thinking about it when I'm away from it. Like, I haven't been as I've been reading it. And to me, that's how I know I'm obsessed with a book. But yeah, that's my honest review of it. But I would still recommend it if you, especially if you're like getting into fantasy. I think it's like, if you've been in fantasy, there's definitely parts of it that are cliched, and I kind of can overlook that a lot because I think there's a lot of fantasy can be formulaic, and it's, unless it's like beat for beat another book, I think I have an easier time overlooking that. But I think if you're getting into fantasy, if you've been into romantasy and you're trying to get into like more fantasy heavy romantasy, if you also like vampires, I haven't read a lot of vampire books recently, and I was excited because I wanted a good vampire book. I feel like honestly the last vampire book I read, no, it was probably Vampire Academy because I read that after Twilight. So it's been a while though. Yeah, I read Twilight when I was like 10. So it has been a while, but I, again, liked it. I'm not like, it sounds like I hated it. I didn't. I liked it. It's just like, hey, I'm not obsessed with it, or I don't even think I'm gonna, at this point, continue the series. Maybe in the future, if I like hear really good things about the rest of it. If you really like the series and you want to like try to convince me to read it, go for it, because I love to be convinced to read something. But as of right now, I don't have an interest in reading the rest of the series. But it's also because I have other books I'm excited about. So the next book is a DNF. I read it from BorrowBox. It's called Witchy Wood. I was trying to read witchy books. I tend to stay away from like contemporary romance as of right now because I have disliked pretty much everyone I've read except The Love Hypothesis. And I liked that one. Again, I wasn't obsessed with it, but I did like it enough to like read another Ali Hazelwood book. But this one, I just couldn't get through more than like 50 pages of it. It had juvenile prose, which if you are just looking for something head empty, silly, whatever, could be for you. And even though I wasn't looking for anything to like really get invested in, just like a fun witchy story, I just couldn't get past how juvenile the prose was, so it wasn't for me. I think I'm less of a fan of like modern fantasy in the sense of like fantasy where the witches like have phones and are posting TikToks and like are very set in modernity, and it's like a very society of irregular witches had that, but it was more understated. This one was very overt and just like a huge part of everyone's story. Like, it's just a personal preference of mine. I also felt like the world building and the establishing of characters was just, it felt random and kind of messy, for a lack of better words. Also like the jokes about like Florida gators, I get it. I totally get it, but it's like derivative, okay? Like, there are so many other things about Florida we can joke about, guys. Like, we need to step it up. I think also in my preferences for witchy books, though it's cliched to have like the magic and witchcraft be a secret, I really appreciate that element, and I think it's kind of essential for like the witchcraft allegory that I tend to like, of like hiding a part of yourself, not feeling accepted, that kind of stuff. Like it's often allegory for like minorities and that kind of stuff, and I think that is something I've always appreciated in witchy stories. And just again, like the modernization of this story of this witchcraft world where they're making short form video content and they're on a baking show, and it's like everyone's a witch and that's just part of the world. Everyone's a witch and they do normal everyday stuff, but as a witch, it just kind of felt like, where are the stakes? It was just a story about two witches falling in love, and if that's what you want, then this book's more for you. It was not for me. I need more stakes, I need more drama, I need more like allegory, like that kind of stuff. I'm sorry I didn't really tell you what that book was about, but I didn't feel like I got far enough in it to tell you what it was about. But it is like these two witches go on a baking show and fall in love. That's kind of the gist that I got from it. And the thing about modern witch stories is I didn't mind the modernization as much in the X-Hex when I read that. And yes, it is like, honestly, it might have taken place like over a decade ago, but it wasn't so overt as well, and it also had that element of witchcraft being a secret, which is, again, important to me. It's, again, dual POV about a woman named Vivi and a guy named Rise. I like should know how to say that name by now. But anyway, they dated when they were 19 and 20, had a messy breakup that led Vivi to making some questionable choices. So Rise returns to this town, how many years later? 9 years later, making the repercussions of what Vivi did, her questionable decision, come to light. So then the magic kind of goes awry, and Vivi and Rise have to work together to fix it. This is another book where the main characters, the main romance storyline, are not queer, but there are queer characters. It's a very small part of it, and the main romance is kind of heteronormative. Like, a lot of current contemporary romance are heteronormative, unfortunately. Like, this one had like, oh, he wears a necklace, but it looks masculine, and I'm kind of like, what the fuck are you saying to me right now? I will say the heteronormativity was not as heavy-handed in this as it has been in other books that I've read. That being said, I'd rather it just like not, because that's still like, it gives me pause. And I thought it was fine. I could have liked it even though it wasn't the best book because of how I was sick when I read it. So like I already said in this video, sometimes when you read a book factors into how much you liked it. It was a very easy read and like chill, cozy read to get me through being sick. And it was also, you know, got me in the Halloween spirit. It also takes place on Halloween, the majority of the book, so it was, again, I spoke my piece, said what issues I had with it, but overall it was just like a chill, cute little book, cute little October read. So those were my main October reads. I kind of feel like I'm missing a book, but I cannot think of it. Like, I like, why would I not write down a book I read? I don't know. My foot is falling asleep because I'm sitting on it, and because I'm trying to let it be known that I am wearing a shirt. Yeah, that's this monthly reading wrap up. If you liked it, please like and subscribe. I will be doing this every month. I'm going to be reading Gideon the Ninth next. I think this is what I'm reading next. I should also finish, I've had to finish the second book in Divine Rivals. What is it called? I don't remember. For a minute, so I should probably finish that first. But I really, really, really cannot wait to read Gideon the Ninth. I've heard great, great things, and I'm so excited for the rest of my TBR. I'm just excited to continue reading and reviewing, and I have some other fun videos planned this month. So like and subscribe, and I will see you soon. Bye.